Hello and welcome from the Friends of Chamber Music. I'm Lacie Eades. The Friends of Chamber Music has brought world-class music to Kansas City for decades. Over the last 45 years, many of the most prominent classical musicians have performed on our stages. Now, the Friends are embracing new ways to connect our audiences with classical repertoire, its historical backdrop, and current performers. Today, I have the pleasure of chatting with Dr. Bill Everett. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Over the last year, the Friends of Chamber Music have launched a digital streaming series called Chamber Music Now. Can you tell us a little bit about the types of programming included in Chamber Music Now?
Sure. First of all, thank you for inviting me to be with you today. It's really a tremendous honor and pleasure to be talking about these very exciting initiatives that the Friends are doing with an online series of programming, which is what Chamber Music Now embraces. Right. There's actually four different scenarios that play into this, or four different types of programming. First is a series of programs coming from the Chamber Music Society of Lincoln Center, based at Lincoln Center, New York, some of the world's finest musicians coming together to perform programs of chamber music. So we're very fortunate that some of those programs will be available one a month on Chamber Music Now. Second is Chamber Conversations, and this is a series of programs that I'm actually getting to host, which concern a particular aspect of chamber music. And each of these programs is about 30 to 40 minutes long, and each features performances of two complete movements of chamber music works by leading world-class ensembles. Then there's the Listen and Learn, which, Lacie, I know you're very involved with that. So if you want to say a few words about Listen and Learn.
Yes, absolutely. So Tom Manny and I have a lot of fun with these episodes. And so what we get to do is kind of have a musical show and tell of some of our favorite pieces of music. We can point out some of the elements of the music that really stand out to us and have a discussion about it. It's just a lot of fun to find out what appeals to each other and just get to talk about the music, which as musicians and as connoisseurs of music, we love to do.
And then the fourth component of Chamber Music Now consists of interviews with some of the performers, many of whom are featured on the Chamber Music Society of Lincoln Center series. And Lacie, you are also involved with that. So did you want to say a few words about what happens there?
Yes. So in these interviews, we get to just have a one-on-one conversation with some of these artists and composers, and we get an inside, more personal look at the music that's going to be part of our programming.
So combined, these four different dimensions really are a very exciting combination of performances, of interviews, and hopefully something that everyone will enjoy.
Yes, yes, I think so. Again, we have lots of options, which is wonderful to have. So much of this content is already available on the Friends of Chamber Music's website, as well as on the YouTube channel. So what can you tell us about the fall lineup? What can we expect in the coming months?
Well, what we've been thinking about in putting this programming together on Chamber Music Now for the fall, is to think about a different theme for each month, something that will bring together all of these different types of presentations that we just discussed. So to start with, in September, we're going to focus on chamber music in France during La Belle Époque, roughly 1880 to the First World War. And I'll be doing a chamber conversation that talks about some of the music from this period. And one of the things that stands out of a lot of the chamber music from France at this time is it includes piano. Mm-hmm. So we'll be hearing performances not only of chamber music featuring piano, but that will be the majority of the discussion. And what is very nice about this is we have a program, one of the Front Row series from Lincoln Center, that features the piano quintet by Cesar Franck, which is a work that I discussed briefly in the chamber conversations, but we're delighted to have a full performance of this truly, truly magnificent work. And Lacie, what about the Listen and Learn?
Yes, so Tom and I will be selecting pieces from the same era. So I think it's really interesting how our programming, that we're coming from different formats and different angles, we can still intertwine the similar themes and keep everything focused on our theme for each month.
For October, we're going to go back to the late 18th century with Mozart. And this past season, we've had a chamber conversation on the string quartets of Mozart. And for October of this year, we'll be focusing on Mozart's chamber music that features wind instruments. This is something about Mozart. He loved the idea of timbre. And so in the chamber conversation, we'll be listening to excerpts of pieces that Mozart wrote featuring a combination of winds, strings, and the last movement of his absolutely glorious quintet for piano and winds, a truly extraordinary work. And we're delighted that that performance will feature members of the Plaza Winds, the Graduate Fellowship Woodwind Quintet at the UMKC Conservatory, with pianist Dr. Jessica Kobe. For the Front Row performance, we're delighted that there is a performance of Mozart's clarinet quintet. It's clarinet for clarinet and string quartet. That is a truly magnificent work and one of the last chamber music pieces he wrote. So it's wonderful that we're able to have a performance of that.
Yes.
And so turning from Mozart in October to November, we'll return to the 19th century, where the focus is going to be on two preeminent Czech composers, Smetana and Dvořák. In the chamber conversations, we'll be looking at their string quartets and listening to excerpts from several of their string quartets, as well as hearing performances of the first movement of Smetana's first string quartet, an autobiographical work called From My Life, and then a movement from one of Dvořák's final string quartets. And this program is especially exciting. I mean, all of them are, but this one, just because next spring, in spring 2022, two of the string quartets that are going to be featured on the Friends of Chamber Music's programming will be performing string quartets by Dvořák. This very famous American string quartet, and then one of his latter string quartets. And these two late string quartets of Dvořák are sublime pieces. And it's rare to be able to hear a live performance of either of them in the United States. And so audiences in Kansas City really have a tremendous treat in store with being able to hear those works. And then looking at the Front Row series from the Chamber Music Society of Lincoln Center, we will be featuring a program that includes Smetana's piano trio, a very early work. And like his string quartet, From My Life, and mentioning with the autobiographical references, this work also has some autobiographical resonances. The chamber conversation for December will focus on this idea of the lessons and carols service. This is actually, nowadays, we might think of it as a Christmas time tradition. It actually originated in Victorian England in the latter part of the 19th century. So if we think of Charles Dickens and A Christmas Carol, we could almost think of this as a sacred parallel to that world of Charles Dickens. So I'm delighted that I'll be able to record that program with members of Stile Antico, and we'll actually be able to attend one of their rehearsals.
Oh, wonderful.
So we'll be talking about what this lessons and carol service is, but Stile Antico is really not known for their performances of late 19th century music, but rather music from the Renaissance. And what they have done for their programming is chosen pieces of Renaissance music to come into this framework of a lessons and carol service. So it's a big part of what was going on in English music at the end of the 19th century, this idea of looking to the past. And that's exactly what Stile Antico do in this regard. So in our chamber conversation, we'll be doing a little bit, Lacie, of what you and Tom do with your Listen and Learn, that be able to discuss some of what makes this Renaissance music what it is. Sort of, as it were, looking under the hood and sort of seeing how does this music work, and being able to use the live ensemble to demonstrate how some of these musical attributes work separately and then together. So really bringing us a deeper understanding of not only, as it were, the framework for the lessons and carol service, but also some of the inner workings, as it were, of the music that will be included. So I think traveling from this idea of looking at French music of the late 19th century, going to the chamber music featuring winds of Mozart, looking at Smetana, DVOŘák and their very special relationships with the string quartet, and then ending with the idea of lessons and carols, really promises to be a very exciting lineup for chamber music now this fall.
Yes, I agree. There are so many things to choose from that we can just select what we want to view, and there really is something for everyone, I think. And maybe things that we're familiar with, or there's opportunities to engage with music that we don't normally listen to. So if you're an early music person, you've got plenty of more in the more recent centuries music to listen to, and vice versa. So lots of things and lots of different formats. So is this content available to everyone online?
It is. It's available through the Friends of Chamber Music website, www.chambermusic.org. And each of these programs that we've been discussing will be available during that particular month. So for example, the BELLE ÉPOQUE, those programming ideas surrounding that theme will be available in September. Likewise, Mozart's Chamber Music with Winds in October, DVOŘák and Smetana in November, and then finally Lessons and Carols will be available in December through the Friends website.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we look forward to sharing that content with our audiences, and maybe even speaking online through the chat function in the comment section would be great too. So how do you think this streaming content enhances the listening experience for our audiences?
A couple of different ways. One is, one of the reasons we decided to do the November program with Smetana and DVOŘák is that string quartets by DVOŘák will be featured in the live performances in 2022. So having this experience with some of the background surrounding these quartets, the cultural history, for example, the challenges that Smetana and DVOŘák face between, do you want to be a truly Czech composer using lots of folk music, but also chamber music, music publishing, a commercial marketplace. How do you make this music appealing to people who might not be Czech? And so that's one of the things that is explored in some of the programming that month. And then being able to hear this live concert that features this repertoire where a composer is wanting to be Czech on one hand, but they're wanting to be part of the general Viennese mainstream that was expected of a composer at the time. And also the autobiographical elements. So how does the personal, the cultural, and sort of the, as it were, the larger cosmopolitan sphere, how do these come together? So these are things really meant to enhance the listening experience. And also, just during this time when still we really are not able to safely attend live concerts in the way we might like to have the experience of being able to attend, albeit virtually, some performances of this absolutely glorious repertoire, and then to hear a bit more about sort of why do we care so much about these pieces?
Right.
So being able to offer some of those ideas to our audiences, whether you're been coming to Friends of Chamber Music for decades, or if you're coming to this website for the very first time.
Yes.
There, like you said, Lacie, there's something for everybody.
Great. Well, we are very excited. I'm excited as being part of the program, but also being a viewer of the programming for this season. And Dr. Everett, I thank you so much for your time today, for giving us this preview of our season and the exciting things that we have to share with our audiences.
No, thank you so much for inviting me to be with you today.